Hello class, we're going to do a little bit of a throwback to distributing. This is chapter 2.4 for those of you who would like to know where in the book we're doing this. Distributing is something that very specifically has to do with solving equations or simplifying equations that have grouping in them. And grouping in your order of operations is like parentheses, those square parentheses. When we deal with absolute value, or another example is the top and the bottom of a fraction are also groupings. So if you have a fraction with a lot on the top and a lot on the bottom, then both the top and the bottom are groupings. And so let me fill these in so they're kind of more vivid examples. Grouping in a fraction might look like this: x plus 2. This x plus 2 is a grouping. If you look on the bottom, there could be a number or multiple numbers. Say it's 5 minus x. 5 minus x is a grouping. It's a group. In parentheses, whatever's in parentheses is a grouping. So 2 minus x. And suppose in this square brackets you have an equation similar to that. You could actually, I'm just going to write the same thing for all of these. So I'm writing all this because I want you to visualize what a grouping looks like. A grouping will typically have one of these types of symbols in it. And what it's telling you is that what is within those symbols is going to be a number or an object. Okay? So this is a grouping, and whenever we see a grouping, we have to look for distributing, which is our lesson today. All right, so sometimes, or probably the most common type of distributing problem you'll see is going to be with parentheses, where you have two terms on the inside and a single term multiplying by that grouping. Whenever you see grouping, there's going to be distributing. And what I mean by that is whenever you see grouping, look for the number with its sign, positive or negative, that will be multiplying to this group. And so that number is this 3 here. It's a positive 3. That is the number that is going to be distributed. Now, what is distributing? When I say that, what do I mean? Distributing is when you take this number being multiplied by the grouping and you distribute it to every single term within that grouping. Here's a term, x. So we will distribute it to the x. And then here's another term, 2. So we'll distribute it to the 2. Now the 3 is multiplying by the grouping. So when you distribute, what you're doing is you're saying the 3 is first going to multiply by this term, then it's going to multiply by this term. And if it helps, I would always write arrows, taking what you're distributing and then taking it to the number that you're distributing it to, or to the term that you're distributing to. So let's write this out after we've done the multiplication with distributing. I just wrote out exactly what I did up here. First I multiplied 3 by x, then I multiplied 3 by 2. 3 times x is going to be 3x. 3 times 2 is going to be 6. Now that you have distributed and multiplied the terms that can be multiplied, you're left with this. And to simplify it further, you need to go back to the previous lesson about combining like terms and say, can we combine any terms here? No, you cannot. You have successfully distributed. Now I'm going to teach you the most, not the most logical, but maybe the easiest way to think about distributing so that you do it correctly every time. And I'm going to relate it to the homecoming dance. Distributing will tell you a lot about how to go about asking someone to go to the homecoming dance with you and what the dance will be like for you. Distributing tells you a lot about life. So let me explain a little bit about how distributing relates to the homecoming dance. Within every distributing problem, you will have a grouping, you will have a term on the outside, which is multiplying, and then you'll have multiple terms on the inside. I wrote 2 here, but there can be more. And each of these terms means something. The term on the outside is you. That term is the person who's looking to ask someone to homecoming. Now, you need to identify this person right here. You need to identify them as either being a positive person or a negative person. Positive people look forward to the homecoming dance. They say, this could be really fun. But negative people, they don't really care. They hate the homecoming dance and they hate happy people, and so they don't really like to go. They would rather just watch and mock people the entire time. So that's a negative person. So we need to decide the first term out here. Are they positive or negative? And then what are they? What is the term? And so, for example, let me put -3. So it's a negative person, and that person is 3. That is the term. Now the people on the inside. You've got to determine the same thing. Are they positive or negative people? Are they excited about homecoming or not? And so the first contestant here, the person who -3 is looking to ask to homecoming, even though they're negative and they don't really want to go. That first person is a positive X. So they're a positive person, and that person is X. The second person is going to be a -7. So it's 7, and 7 is negative. They aren't looking forward to homecoming. So those are our 2 contestants, and this is the person who was looking to ask them to homecoming. And I told them I told you that person is you, insofar as I'm teaching you how to ask someone to go to homecoming. So when we distribute, we take this entire person, this entire term, both their attitude, positive and negative, and their person, and we distribute it to the 2 on the inside. So draw the arrows. And now we're going to decide, based on their sign and their numbers, how they are going to match up. What are they going to be like as a couple? So -3 and positive X multiplied together. A negative and a positive is going to make for a negative experience. The reason why is because when a negative person goes with a positive person, they don't like each other much. So the overall experience is bad for both of them. So the term is a negative. And then we have 3 times X. So 3X. Now the second one over here. -3 and -7. -3 times -7. They're 2 negatives. So they're both negative people. And guess what happens? When 2 negative people go to homecoming together, they have a good time. The reason why is because they both like to sit in the back and mock people who are dancing, and they both like to be angry together. And then all of a sudden, by the end, they realize that they had a really good time together. It's strange, but 2 negatives makes a positive. So -3 and -7 makes -3 times -7 makes for a positive experience. Now, what is 3 times 7? That's going to give you 21. So you have a positive 21, positive experience 21. And what we have down here is -3x plus 21 when we put it all together. And there you have it. That is the answer you get when you distribute -3 to x minus 7, or positive x minus 7.